Hey, good morning. It's Tuesday, February 22nd. Thanks so much for being here today. Again, I get to be outside. The wind isn't bad, but you can hear the waves. And I love being out here because even though we know God is always everywhere with us, seeing the power and feeling the power of the ocean, and you can hear that behind me and see just blows me away. But it gives the perfect background for thinking about the goodness of God, thinking about who God is and how He cares for us. Because when He says that He cares for us, we're talking about somebody with immense power, more than we could ever ask or imagine. And the ocean and these waves demonstrate that. So, and I've been keeping an eye on what's happening with the situation in Russia and Ukraine and all that. But I want to continue this idea of fighting our identity in Christ, in God, identifying as sons and daughters of the King, not only for our children, but for us as well. Yesterday morning, I talked about 3 ways where we can find spiritual protection from fear. Well, this morning I'm going to take that one step further, and 3 ways that being a daughter of the King protects you. And I'll do, Sons of the King tomorrow. But focusing on how is it special, is it, that being a daughter of the King offers you protection? And this is something I think we need to build into and encourage about how we look at women, how we look at our daughters, how we raise them, how women think of themselves. They're the same 3 truths we looked at in Romans 8 yesterday, but just with a specific application this morning, just to women and for daughters. So the first one we looked at in Romans 8 is that God works all things together for good, for those who's called to His purpose. In other words, God works all things together for good for His daughters, the daughters of the King. That means you can interpret whatever happens in your life. It's not something that's random, not something you need someone else to make right for you. And in the right sense, I mean this, not even have a man make it right for you. Because no husband, brother, boyfriend, whatever, can give you that promise that Romans 8 gives. No one can say, I will work all things out for you and it'll be okay. God can do that. And being a daughter of the King, you can do that. But don't look for a human, especially a man, to do that. Or especially a woman. Our confidence is in God's faithfulness to us. All right, next level up. If God is for us, who can be against us? Just follow the progression here in Romans 8. So if you're a daughter of the King and God is for you, who can be against you? See, there's a confidence that you can have. God knew what He was doing when He made you a woman. He is for you. We don't need people and causes to be for us if God is for us. This is where confidence comes from. This is where your hope comes from. So we know that, 3 things, we know that God is working all things together so you as a daughter of the King can have confidence that He's there with you, and then you know that He's for you. And again, as we looked at John chapter 10, God has you in His hand. He's right here. No one can snatch you out of His hand. No one. So again, you don't want to look for people or a man to do these things for you. No husband can fulfill this. What you want to look for is a husband who appreciates this. You want to encourage your husband to appreciate this. You want to raise daughters who are not looking for things, circumstances, people, men, to make everything okay. to give them her confidence, because God is the source of confidence. And there's courage in that. There's peace in that. And then the third element. As a daughter of the King, you are more than a conqueror. Nothing can separate you from the love of Christ. Now let's take this out of the context, because Paul knew what he was doing. He wasn't just talking to men. And this idea of being a conqueror is not just about leading some army, but it's about having that spirit, the attitude. You are a daughter of the King. You are more than anyone can handle. If your focus is on trusting God, doing things that God's called you to do. If you identify as a daughter of the King, there's more power there than anyone can imagine. We want to teach our daughters they don't need to draw their power from other people. They don't need to draw their power from men. They draw their power from God. And they want to look for people, especially men, for relationships who are going to validate that. And in humility, realize where true power comes from. So this is a huge blessing that we can give to our daughters, to raise them in the idea that being daughters of the King, God is working all things in their life for His purpose and good. That if God is for them, no one can be against them. And that they are more than conquering heroes. They are women whose faith is bound up in the character and person of God. Therefore, if their focus is to walk after God, nothing can stand before them. They don't have to stay trapped in abuse. They don't have to stay trapped in what society thinks they ought to be like, what men think they ought to be like. God defines those things. So those three ways wind up defining a daughter of the King and giving her power and purpose and humility and strength and grace in the way that God intended. We're working more. I'm working on a series of videos that will be about the spiritual defense course for women. A lot of the Proverbs will help there. I'm not ready for that yet, but this is the foundation for it. This is huge. As daughters of the King, you have unlimited power in your connection and relationship with God. We need to raise daughters who are not daughters of the culture, daughters of some man's fantasy, but daughters of the King of the universe, to whom all things are possible, for them to do great things. That's real spiritual protection and peace. Again, thanks so much for being here today. We'll do men, sons of the King tomorrow, but I wanted to start with this. Again, great to be with you. If you haven't turned on post notifications, please subscribe. Do that. Videos will come right to you. Check us out every day, talk247.com. And Lord willing, we'll see you again tomorrow morning with possible updates on the Russia situation if it warrants. Thanks so much for being here. Have a great day. Being a daughter of the King.